From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
My name is Wendell Potter, and for 20 years I worked as a senior executive at health insurance companies, and I saw how they confuse their customers and dump the sick, so also they can satisfy their Wall Street investors.
Wendell Potter, the health insurance industry's greatest nightmare, a whistleblower. For years, he was chief spokesperson at Cigna, one of the nation's largest for-profit healthcare insurance companies. In a wide-ranging conversation, he exposes the healthcare industry's PR machine, its lobbying efforts, attempts to discredit Michael Moore's film Sicko, and the campaign to fight a public option, let alone a single-payer system.
The game plan is based on scare tactics, and of course, the thing they fear most is that the country will at some point gravitate toward a single-payer plan. That's the ultimate fear that they have.
All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Sonia Sotomayor continued Wednesday on Capitol Hill. Sotomayor deflected Republican attempts to force her to disclose personal stances on issues such as gun control and abortion. Republican Senator John Cornyn asked Sotomayor if she had been vetted by the White House for her views on abortion.
The White House press secretary said the president did not ask Sotomayor specifically about abortion rights during their interview. Is that correct?
Yes, it is absolutely correct. I was asked no question by anyone, including the president, about my views on any specific legal issue.
Sotomayor returns for a third and final day of questioning today. A full Senate vote on her nominations expected early next month. In Honduras, the installed Honduran President Roberto Micheletti has announced he would step down if the ousted President Manuel Zelaya never returns. Micheletti spoke Wednesday from the presidential palace.
I state that if, at any given moment, there is a decision for peace and calm in the country, and on the condition that ex-President Zelaya does not return, I am willing to step down.
Micheletti's comments come one day after Zelaya called for a, quote, popular insurrection to restore his democratically elected government. Speaking from Guatemala, Zelaya urged his supporters to continue protests and civil disobedience, calling for his return. On Wednesday, Zelaya's supporters continued daily marches in the capital, Tegucigalpa.
We are firm in that he will return. He should have faith in the Honduran people who are waiting for him with open arms and with all our will to receive him and bring him to the presidential house again.
A new poll, meanwhile, shows Zelaya remains more popular than his installed replacement. According to Gallup, 46% of Hondurans hold a favorable opinion of Zelaya compared to 30% for Micheletti. In Iraq, at least 11 people were killed on Wednesday in bombings in Baghdad and Ramadi. The Baghdad attack struck the Shia neighborhood of Sabr City, while in Ramadi, a suicide bomber hit a police convoy. In Afghanistan, the death toll for foreign troops this month has equaled its highest of any month since the U.S.-led invasion of 2001. 1 American and 2 Turkish soldiers died Wednesday, bringing July's foreign troop toll to 46 so far. In other news from Afghanistan, prisoners at the U.S.-run Bagram military jail have been staging a mass protest over the past 2 weeks against their indefinite captivity. According to family members and attorneys, dozens of prisoners have refused to leave their cells since July 1st. News of the protest comes one day after it was revealed a group of Guantanamo Bay prisoners staged a 2-week sit-in last month. The Obama administration will no longer rely on statements obtained through torture in the case of Guantanamo prisoner Mohammed Jawad. The American Civil Liberties Union is currently challenging Jawad's indefinite jailing. The administration's fought the case, but on Wednesday said it won't challenge a defense motion to rule out Jawad's coerced statements. The ACLU says Jawad was abused, threatened, and deprived of sleep in U.S. custody. His case has received further scrutiny because it's believed he was jailed when he was 12 years old. ACLU attorney Jonathan Hayfitz said, quote, "We commend the government for halting its reliance on evidence obtained through torture. Now it's time to send Jawad home to Afghanistan because there's no credible evidence against him," he said. The Obama administration's opposing a measure in a Pentagon spending bill that would ban private contractors from military interrogations. The provision calls interrogations, quote, "an inherently governmental function that cannot be transferred to contractor personnel." Obama has also threatened to veto the bill if it includes a $1.75 billion provision for the purchase of additional F-22 fighter jets made by Lockheed Martin. Obama wants to cap the number of F-22s at 187, but several lawmakers are pushing for funding construction of another 7 planes. A group of around 100 U.S. peace activists have arrived in the Gaza Strip carrying humanitarian aid. The activists are part of the group Viva Palestina, which conducted another aid mission from Europe earlier this year. On Wednesday, the group entered Gaza through the Rafah border, crossing with Egypt. The convoy includes the former Democratic Congressmember Cynthia McKinney. McKinney's entry comes just over a week after a deportation from Israel for trying to reach Gaza by sea. She was one of 21 activists kidnapped by the Israeli military in international waters as they tried to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. Meanwhile, in Israel, a group of 26 soldiers who took part in the 3-week Israeli assault on Gaza have come forward with testimony on the disregard for Palestinian civilian life during the attack. The testimony was gathered by the Israeli group Breaking the Silence, which says soldiers were instructed, quote, to shoot first and worry later. Soldiers describe witnessing several war crimes, including the use of Palestinians as human shields. One soldier, identified as Amir, said Israeli soldiers opened fire in Gaza at will.
Any obstacle, any problem, we open fire and don't ask questions, even if it's firing in the dark, aimed at an unknown target, firing when we don't see. Deterrent fire, no problem with that, etc. A vehicle that's in the way, crush it. A building in the way, shell it. This was the spirit of things that was repeated throughout the training.
Meanwhile, in the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority has banned the satellite network Al Jazeera for airing what it calls false statements about Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. This week, Al Jazeera quoted a Palestinian official as saying Abbas conspired with Israel to assassinate Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat in 2003. Arafat died the next year. The PA has accused Al Jazeera of spreading, quote, sedition and false reports. Kani Moussa of the Foreign Press Association criticized the ban.
We urge them to reconsider this decision because the Palestinian Authority themselves are in favor and stated that clearly in their institutions for the freedom of the press, and this is a clear violation, and we really hope that they will stop these practices immediately.
In Sri Lanka, the Times of London's reporting an estimated 1,400 people are dying each week at an internment camp for Tamil refugees. Some 300,000 displaced Tamils are living in the camps following the clashes that led Tamil Tiger rebels to end their 26-year struggle in May. Sri Lanka has been accused of trying to prevent refugees from leaving the camps in the hopes of drastically altering the ethnic balance of the region. In Chechnya, a prominent human rights activist has been found dead. Natalia Estemirova's body was discovered Wednesday, just hours after she was kidnapped from her home. Estemirova was considered a leading voice for victims of Russian and Chechen forces. Back in the United States, the Senate's Health Committee has approved a measure that calls for making health insurance available to all Americans. The vote was split along party lines, with 13 Democrats in favor and 10 Republicans opposed. The measure is the first approved by a congressional panel on the current debate over health care reform. And the Obama administration's given an opening for foreign women victimized by domestic and sexual abuse to receive asylum in the United States. The New York Times reports the White House has provided narrow guidelines under which women could now be granted asylum in abuse cases. The administration outlined its new position in a court filing in the immigration case of a Mexican woman who'd been raped and held hostage by her husband. The new policy follows a more than decades-long legal battle over granting asylum to abused women. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.